Hey folks, Corey here with Fist and Stone Wargaming. Welcome to the Stone Path. In this video, I'll share with you how I make quick and easy sandbags that can be used for bases, scenery, or dioramas. Okay, making sandbags is pretty straightforward. I'm going to use green stuff as a two-part putty. You could use milliput or DAS modeling clay, depending on how many you're going to do. I'm going to use a 60 mil base here, so I don't need a whole lot of green stuff. Using a sculpting tool, you don't need one necessarily, but I find it helps me out a little bit. And of course, a hobby knife. If you never worked with green stuff before, it's pretty straightforward. You have to come down here and cut out the very middle of either side, because these two sides have started to react where the joint line is. So you come right down as close as you can so you don't waste any of your green stuff. Trim off your yellow and blue separately. Okay, at this point the green stuff's ready to mix. It's going to be very tacky very quickly. That's why this water's right here. You want to get some water on your fingers and begin kneading it together. So what you're looking for here, and every manufacturer has a slightly different hue, but you want this to be nice and consistent, fully mixed. You don't want to see any blue or any yellow left. Good consistent green color. That's what we're looking for. The next step now is going to be to kind of roll it into a ball and then out into a small sausage. You see something like that. That gets us started. And now I'll show you why I'm using my Army Painter cutting mat here. Along the sides and the bottom, you can see that there's numbers marked here. These are centimeters. And then the small grid lines are all in 5 millimeter or half centimeter increments. This just so happens that this is the perfect size for the sandbags I'm looking to make to go on this base, 60 mil base for 28 millimeter figures, Warhammer bolt action. So now we'll put a little water down on the mat too so it doesn't stick. Some people like to use a piece of parchment paper. This works good enough for me. And we'll roll it out until the width is pretty much the width of 5 millimeters. What I like to do next then is press this down to flatten it out. Some people will prefer to use another set of lines on a piece of parchment paper again, which kind of show you like maybe an 8 millimeter layout. For me, this is just flattening it out about halfway, so from the height it normally is right now. And you can do that just with your finger and just keep pressing right along. You'll end up making the sausage longer at the end because the extra green stuff does need a little place to go. And a little bit of lack of uniformity is not a bad thing here. It looks like it's a little bit man-made. Okay, and I'm just going to make sure that I peel this off so it's not sticking too bad. And then put a little bit more water down. Next step is to cut these out. Now again, using the same grid lines, I do 10 millimeters in length for my sandbags. And it looks like this is going to be a perfect rollout. This is where I use the sculpting tool here. And I'll go in here. You can use a knife instead. And I'll go every 10 millimeters and make a mark. I should probably wet that too. That's a real quick sandbag. Now you can do more to this, and I'll show you more. But this is just one squared away. Now you can tap in the ends, square it off a little bit. One of the things people like to do, and I'll show you this, is to put some stitching lines across the side of the sandbag. So I'm going to get down to this, cut out several of these, and then start putting them on this base, and then show you how I'm going to put some stitching lines on them. So at the end here, I had a small 5mm left over. You can do something with that. Or if you're going to make some more sandbags, you can roll it into your next batch of green stuff. Now, since these are tacky, you can put them right on the base. They'll stick. And when they cure, they'll hold fast. No glue required. If you let them cure first, they can be glued with super glue pretty simply. I'm going to lay these out in the manner of kind of a gun emplacement. Fingerprints will hold on green stuff too, just so you're aware. But you can smooth them out with some water once you're done applying everything. This process is pretty quick. You just got to decide how big of a gun emplacement you want to make. Okay, and if you want to go over to a higher course, these will also stick to themselves or to each other. Again, they're nice and tacky, so second layer of sandbags started. Probably going to have to mix some more green stuff because I want to go 3 high here, and I only got 4 of these sandbags left. And note here that the ends in the middle don't have to be quite as precise because you're butting them up to each other. It's kind of hidden. And again, the fingerprints from the earlier layer don't matter as much because it's also hidden. I'm going to keep working on these and I'll show you it when I've got the layers all built up. Okay, so now I've got my little emplacement all set here with a whole bunch of sandbags. And I ended up with 1 extra, which I'll probably put somewhere. But I wanted to show you the last thing here, 2 last things, 2 things actually. Number 1 is to do the stitching on the sides of the sandbags. I find this is a lot easier in this position with everything done. And then also how to get rid of fingerprints you may have left on this stuff. I use the hobby tool here, or the sculpting tool. You can very easily use your hobby knife if you want. This is pretty simple technique. I'm just going to go in here and start making indentations. Need a little water on that. To mimic what could be stitch lines. And you're basically going to go right down each row. Doesn't have to look perfect. You're going for effect here. If you paint it up well with a good shade, or maybe some contrast paint, it will look really cool. So I'm going to work through the rest of this and I'll show you it when it's done. There you have it. Last thing, get a little water and just rub your finger over. That will clean up and smooth out any of those fingerprints you may have left behind. Now this green stuff's just going to take 24 hours to dry, and then you can paint it up in any way, shape, or form you want. Just make sure you let it cure all the way. Well, I hope there was something in that video that you found useful for your future hobby projects. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like down below. Also, please subscribe. Click the little bell icon for notifications on future videos that I post. If you're interested in checking out some more videos right now, click on one of the links that's on the screen. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time on The Stone Path.